So a story dropped this morning that I want to talk about because it is one of those rare moments where a teacher ends up winning a case of sex abuse rather than be something online. According to published reports, a teacher up in Maryland, I'll show you him in just a minute here, just dropped a few minutes ago with the patch. This teacher was indicted earlier this year for having an ongoing sexual relationship with a student, something that does indeed happen. And this man was acquitted. And rather than call it a victory, because I don't know enough information about the details of the case, despite the published reports, I want to talk about the published reports themselves and what they reveal about things when you do win a case. I'm sure that the gentleman in question certainly views it as a win, and you can certainly understand why he might do that. So here is the first article I want to show you. This came out in June. Maryland teacher indicted on multiple charges of sex abuse against a minor by Sammy Grinston. It has a nice little video here. And this is a teacher named Amir Johnson. This is not Amir Johnson, the basketball player. This is Parkdale High School teacher Amir Johnson, age 38, I think, who supposedly carried on a 3-month sexual affair that was broken up. And I would venture to guess his 18 counts were informed by a young person claiming that this happened. And again, I'm not casting aspersions about that at all. I'm not even viewing it as a victory because we don't know. Okay. But supposedly sexual abuse of a minor and rape. And so this is in East Riverdale, Maryland. Not quite sure where that is in Maryland. And he had been a teacher there just for a couple of years. Okay. And of course, the obligatory statement from the state's attorney in the school saying teachers are trusted professionals and they shouldn't have sex with children and it violates the trust and all the other stuff. That's fine. That's not really where my issue lies, though, because if you go to the acquittal article, which came out again this morning, Prince George's County, Maryland teacher acquitted in sexual abuse against minor, and you go down here and you read the judge released this Bowie resident, Mr. Johnson, who is a former social studies teacher. And he was suspended, by the way. He was not fired, according to what we're able to determine here. So it's interesting that they call him former. Did he resign? I don't know. But he was accused of having this relationship. And this is the end of the article right here. This is my problem with the article. Other than the 7 counts, the jury was unable to reach a verdict on one other count of sexual abuse of a minor. So there were 8 in all, and that resulted in a mistrial. So they just, on 8 counts, it sounds like, they were unable to reach a verdict, which sounds like it might be a jury that took its jury obligations very seriously. I don't know. But then, of course, we have this too. The state will reevaluate that count. In other words, they are allowed, sometimes multiple times, to bring cases back against somebody. And you would think it's double jeopardy, but double jeopardy is kind of a tricky thing. And I don't profess to understand all of it, but I have seen cases where here in Virginia, the Commonwealth Attorney, the district attorney equivalent, has brought the case up again and again and again and again until they get their desired verdict, which is to hammer the person. So we will see if they bring that up. But here's the big tell. Officials said no additional details on the case will be released due to its sensitive nature. Really? Due to its sensitive nature. Okay, so understand that when they when they first arrest you, almost anywhere, they trot out from the chief's office, the chief of police, the office that publishes things like press releases and so forth. They trot that sucker out there right away. Especially if you've been convicted of a sex offense. If you're just a petty car thief, they could give a damn. Unless you're a car thief and you have 14 other things, they don't care. Unless it's splashy, then it will hit a big article. But if it's a sex offense, ooh, they got to get that one out there right away. And of course, what does that do? That has the effect of giving your name and your address and what you do and where you work. It brings disrepute upon the location of your job, on your neighbors, on your family, on yourself. Before you had a day in court, you didn't have a goddamn day in court, and they're already plastering your name out there to injure the jury pool in some way and to ensure you do not get a fair trial. Now, if you're wealthy and powerful, you can go into the court and say, "Oh, Your Honor, my client won't get a fair." How many times did Trump try to change the jurisdiction, for example? But he's not the only one, to be fair. Lots of people do it regardless of political affiliation. I'm not trying to say political affiliation had anything to do with it, but wealthy, powerful, and well-connected sure does. And very often they can get the venue moved, and that helps them get a fairer trial than what the rest of us get. Okay, so they're not going to release any details about this person. Why? Because I suspect they're going to bring the charges back, one or more charges back against this person. And again, I don't know if this person's guilty or innocent. I'm not going to say it's a victory, certainly not from the standpoint of the alleged victim, certainly from the standpoint of Mr. Johnson. But you do have to wonder, why don't they bring these out? They're supposed to be reporters. Why don't they report the entire details? Why don't they report exactly what is alleged to have happened? It's already been in the public record in the trial transcript, which they're happy enough to report from. I mean, they certainly did from what the police said, even things that didn't, in my case, even things that didn't even show up in court. Okay. And it's not just my case. You know, I talk about my case. I also talk about other people's cases. And as I just stated a few minutes ago, they do the exact same thing in every case. They trot out your information so that the jury pool can be tainted. Now, they say we do it so that other victims can come forward, but very, very rarely, unless you have a long history and you have multiple victims who have already come forward, nobody comes forward. Okay. So they do it to taint the jury pool. They do it to get that advantage. That's why they do it. And they shouldn't be allowed to do it. There should be a law which permits them to say that you've been arrested and give no details. After all, they're not giving any details here. Why not? Maybe, just maybe, it's because Mr. Johnson was innocent, possibly, and they don't want to give any more details that might make them look bad. Food for thought.